Hello all, welcome to a new episode of Bitcoin Talks. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Bitcoin Improvement Proposal 444, also known as Reduced Temporary Data Softfork, RDTS. So basically, what is it all about? Well, basically, from my point of view, the improvement proposal, as proposed by Data is all about realigning consensus towards policy level. Now, what does the improvement proposal introduce to Bitcoin? Well, it all has to do with filters, and just as the name mentions it, reduced data. So it is basically an anti-policy, an anti-filter proposal. What does it entail? Well, it entails the removal of certain OP functions, not OP return, but other OP functions which make part of the Bitcoin database. It also proposes to once again reintroduce limits, mainly the OP return limit back towards 83 bytes and not the blown off cap like Bitcoin Core version 30 introduced. So once again going back towards the 83 byte limit. That's basically what that proposal entails. Now, heavy discussion is ongoing. The proposal itself is available for review by everyone and anyone. What I do want to stress out here is that the proposal hasn't been implemented yet. That's a very important distinction. Dayton and, well, almost all supporters are naturally in favor to activate it as soon as possible. However, there are a few issues. The proposal still is under heavy discussion. By reason, there was a fear of confiscating coins by limiting certain functions. One of them had to do with multiple signature wallets. We would see their coins confiscated because of a newly imposed limit. I'm trying to keep it here as simple as possible, my explanation, so bear with me. Sometimes I will have to reiterate my words. So yeah, that was one of the major issues. However, in updates since its first launch, that issue has been addressed with height checks and verification how many wallets are actually making use of that function. Little hint, not all too many. So basically, yeah. Now, on the issue with the confiscating coins, so like I said, there are high checks involved. People are still adjusting the improvement proposal. By reason, well, naturally, we all want Bitcoin as a pure monetary unit, to be it as pure money. However, there are certain functions, and I'm going to refer towards privacy wallets, such as the Samurai wallet, which do make use of data blocks, which needs to be saved. So a certain amount of arbitrary data is needed by these applications. So now we are walking on a little bit of a tightrope. Sure, we want to remove all spam, all arbitrary data, to not relay all those darned JPEGs, refuse them, throw them out of the blockchain. Actually, what is on chain remains on chain, so all the JPEGs still present will remain there, but we want to evade more blockchain bloat, more JPEGs being saved onto the Bitcoin blockchain itself. Now, like I said, we're walking a tightrope here, because by removing certain functions, by limiting certain functions, well, certain L2s will have trouble to propagate. Naturally, if Bitcoin maximalist stance, you might say, yeah, but we don't want them. True, but there's still a tightrope walk here. Like I said, Samurai wallet, privacy wallets, they do make use of arbitrary data in order to, well, guarantee privacy in use. So those are functions which are needed for the adoption mainstream adoption of Bitcoin worldwide. But at the same time, yeah, there is a certain limit, so we will need to weigh off the pros and cons. That is the ongoing discussion where it concerns BIP444. Another news, since a while Nick Szabo, one of the Bitcoin OGs, has shown support of the imposing of the limits of the RDTS, RDFS, Reduced Data Temporary Softfork, RDTS, BIP444, and basically one of the main gripes core supporters had was that the BIP444 raison d'être, so reason to be, highlighted legal issues in regards to, well, illegal content. My previous episode I talked about CSAM, we're talking about that kind of data. So yeah, and proponents of course said, yeah, it needs to be removed because legality, cypherpunk, blah 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 blah. We yielded, we removed it. However, Nick Szabo, on the other hand, is actually voicing opinions like my own by highlighting, look, we understand the proponents' attitude and the proponents' point of view that we are cypherpunks, but at the same time there is still the issue of legality present. And in a tweet of today that he made, he's highlighting certain laws on US federal level, which quite frankly also applies to Europe, Asia and plenty of other countries, in regards to distribution of said material. As a node runner, you are keeping a copy of the entire blockchain on your node, on your computer, which implies you are, if such content has been uploaded and saved onto the blockchain, you are an actual distributor and can be seen as such. The legality, the laws themselves, while in a traditional sense are encompassing and easy to understand, blockchain technology is uncensorable, immutable, and it provides a whole new case in regards to law which needs to be adapted. So the legal issues, while the text and motivations have been removed from BIP444, they are still important matters. And naturally you can hide behind, yeah, but we're cypherpunks, freedom, liberty, etc, etc. Do not forget, people, we are living in the real world. Actions can have consequences, and Bitcoin is something unique, something very new still, despite its more than a decade old tech that it runs on. It's still something very new. We are really in a gray zone whereby computer programming rules are clashing with legality, with legal rules and compliance. Now, we could take the very short route and say we ban all arbitrary data, something which I'm a fan of, but at the same time there are payoffs. And those kind of payoffs, well, they're difficult. It needs to have a certain degree of, well, taking responsibility, of being accountable, and that's something not a lot of people will do. People like to hide behind the idea of a network, especially distributed network, because no one can take the blame. Everyone is equal. But that also means, well, if a bad thing happens, everyone is to be held accountable. And I'm not very sure if people are ready to have that discussion. And that's a tightrope walk that most of the Bitcoin developers, both nodes and core, are trying to walk. Now, with core, you might say, yeah, but they unlimited the beast. True. But at the same time, that's not accounting for all core developers. There's still a lot who are on said team, but who are not in support of the unlimited cap. There are people who are core developers who still try to do the right thing. it's only a little minority funded by VCs which are wrecking things up. These are the guys we need to focus on and, well, try to kick out or change their minds, to correct them into well behavior, into thinking about the consequences of their actions. So yeah. And with that, I'm going to end my little talk here for this episode. If you have questions or comments, put them down below in the replies. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so on X, or formerly Twitter, Facebook, Gap, YouTube, whatever other platforms I'm available at, and just leave me a notice. So thank you for watching, and until next time, bye!